the rider's not happy and the bike's not performing, then they have to be able to articulate what they want out of it and what they're feeling in a meaningful way with words, not sounds. When you get it under the guys like that, the bike gets into a whole new realm of problems and scenarios. So it's been really awesome to be involved in the learning process with those guys right now. That was like the final straw for that project. So it won't see the light of day.
Dustin Adams, welcome back to the Downtime Podcast, man. It's been a little while.
Okay.
How's things?
It's been good, yeah. Things have been busy. Life is busy of moving houses and businesses going crazy as ever. The industry's in turmoil, but it's been crazy last 6 to 8 months since we last spoke. Or it's been good though. Yeah, all positives.
Good. The bike industry has been crazy for the last little while, but hopefully better things are around the corner. It feels like those tides are changing a little bit. But we're going to be talking today about downhill in the majority. So I guess worth just reminding people that maybe haven't listened to you before or know much about you, about your background, because you were a World Cup downhill racer back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I guess.
Yeah. Back in the 90s, 2000s, spent my time racing in North America. Did some World Cups. Had some good results with Giant. It was a good experience. Taught me a lot about myself and pushed the limits and had some fun. I really enjoyed racing. I really enjoyed the atmosphere, and it's kind of really cool to see how the sport's evolved and how crazy the athletes are riding right now. There's some severe speed on all levels, and it's really awesome to see that downhill is alive and well and is growing at a rampant pace. So it's awesome to see it finally take the lead, I would say, in the mountain bike side of things in the world right now.
Yeah, it's in a good spot for sure. Some insane racing already this season, and we're only a couple of rounds in. So was it natural for you with that background then that at some point with We Are One, you would want to kind of steer things at some point into that downhill area and do a bit more there?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it like a plan. We had always talked about making a downhill bike, and we had, after the arrival, what was next, what would be a meaningful progression for the company. And obviously the onset of downhill in the world stage, it kind of made sense that it would be a great place to invest some of our time and efforts and try to be a part of this momentum and that's happening in the sport today, and capture kind of our space if possible in that story.
And when the downhill bike broke cover, I think it was at some point kind of mid last year, it was discussed at that point as like, this is just a development platform. We're just using it to develop components. Like, was that the case back then, or was there always this intent to take it racing? It
was the intent. And we never had planned on a team. And then a lot of things were shuffling with riders and sponsors with the kind of the upheaval in the industry, I guess, the nervousness. A lot of marketing budgets got hacked, and there were some great riders available. And we could fit a budget that would work for us to make it possible for us to be a part of it on the world stage. We found a good partnership with Stereo Racing to manage the team and take on the management and the athlete management and all of the organization. So it was pretty low key for us to get involved, other than the financial and the bike. So it was kind of right place, right time. And obviously we had a great rider in Mark and John, two really talented Canadian athletes that would tell a good all Canadian story. And we decided to align with them, and we're excited to have them out there on the bike and putting it through its paces at the World Cup at the highest level possible. And that's all we could really ask for. I mean, internally we think we can push the bike to a certain limit, but when you get it under the guys like that, the bike gets into a whole new realm of problems and scenarios. So it's been really awesome to be involved in the learning process with those guys right now.
Yeah, let's start with that bike then. So what went into the fundamental design of the bike? And I guess I'm talking more about like the geometry and the kinematic side rather than the aesthetics of the thing, although it does look absolutely stunning, of course. But take us through, like, before the team became the team, Where did you
Yeah.
start with Vlad? I think it was who did a lot of the design work.
Yeah, I mean, it's really Vlad's baby, to be honest with you. I had very little input on it. He knows we're under tight budgets. We don't have a huge amount of money to throw at a project like this, and he managed to take I would say 2/3 of an arrival and build what we're looking at today at the World Cup. So essentially, it's a stock arrival XL front end that's sectioned off and a stock arrival XL rear end. We bond in a midsection that links up to a very similar kind of virtual link or floating rear end links. Created this kind of a unique platform for us to give it near infinite adjustability from all aspects of the kinematic values that you want to plug into it. And we did the best we could, I guess, to get the geometry close. And we're moving from that now. Like, that's the starting point. So we're really excited to have a bike. And I raced it last year and was like blown away at what a modern downhill bike would do in comparison to what we used to ride, and figured it would be worth a try. And Mark and John threw a leg over it and were really impressed. So we kind of I was surprised, I guess. I mean, Vlad wouldn't be surprised. He was obviously designing it with all intents and purposes to be the fastest bike out there, but I was surprised how well it was received and how little effort we had to put into the project to move it to where it is today.
Yeah. Was it an obvious choice then to try and keep the project kind of all Canadian? Like, you've got this story of local manufacture and everything going on. So I guess it is a very like Canadian centric theme within the business. But was that something you wanted to do with the team as well?
Yeah, I was, Canada, I would say, is a fairly underrepresented and I guess under invested in group of riders, like as far as the athletes go. We have an alarming amount of talent here in Canada and a cycling body that doesn't really invest heavily into the gravity side of the sport. There's a lot of large players, I guess, that call Canada their home base, and in brands like Norco and Da Vinci, Rocky Mountain. I would say Kona is kind of like a Canadian brand. There's a lot of other kind of brands in the area. And I feel like we should be fostering those talents and investing in those talents to get them to the world stage and showcase the more, like, that we have more to offer than the likes of what we're seeing today. And I think the more that companies get behind that and push the prerogative, then we'll start to see Canadians kind of take over the world stage and do really well. But it's going to take investment from private companies like us, I think, to make that happen.
Yeah, there's never really been a big squad of kind of Canadian downhillers on the scene when I think back, Like, we've seen it with the Brits, the Aussies, the French, like a lot of nationalities, the Americans have done it. But yeah, you're right. There's been some amazing Canadian riders, but there's never been like a big contingent of you like doing it all together, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we have always had some fantastic names that climbed to the top and have dominated or done well. And the likes of Stevie Smith, obviously, you got Finn and Bodie looks like he's coming up, the Jewett brothers. There's some very, very fast Canadians they're on the ground, clamoring towards the top of the sport, which is amazing. And I think, even Gracie, you got some top female athletes, and there's even more female athletes coming down the pipe. And looking at the I guess the feeder of what's being done in Canada with the local Dunbar series here in BC and BC Cups, Canada Cups, these are all events that are burgeoning at the U15, U17 categories. I mean, we're talking 70 to 100 U17, U15 riders at an event, which makes up almost 1/3 of the total entrants. So there's a lot of future talent coming out of Canada. And it all came to light to me. I went back and visited some events in 2021, and it was just a mind blower to me. I didn't know racing was alive and well. We focused a lot on an enduro at the time and kind of forgot about downhill. But as the momentum built, it was really cool to see these kids that were excited to race and frothing to get to the top of the sport. So I think the future is bright for Canada if it gets the right investment.
Yeah, and two good riders on the squad in John Mazel and Mark Wallace. Like, when did you find out that those guys might be available and that you might be able to get them swinging a leg over your bike?
Yeah, Mark, I guess the people from Stereo Racing, they were like Holly and Darren, they were very interested in creating and forming a team. Unfortunately, they were kind of a part of this Norco fiasco that I don't know what happened there. I don't know the details, but a bunch of changes were made, and they were without work, and Mark was a part of that. And we were, it kind of made obvious that Mark was one of the top Canadian athletes that was available at the time, and if we were going to try to take this bike to the top, it only makes sense that he was our man. And then, yeah, John was a super talented individual that Holly and Darren brought to the table, and said we should ride with him, have him ride the bike. And yeah, he's a great kid. He's super energetic. He has a massive fire, and he really wants to do well. And I think that Mark fostering some of his experience and sharing that with John and developing him, it could be a great team. So I think all in all, for what we had to work with, the timeline that we had to put it together and whatnot, we couldn't ask for a better team. I mean, ultimately, I'd love to have, 15, 20 young Canadians out there send themselves down the hill and trying to learn and grow and foster. But unfortunately, we have to pick a couple, and we're really, really happy with the outcome.
Yeah, so that infrastructure was there already to some extent, was it, with Holly and Darren? Is that Stereo Racing? Is that what that was called?
Yeah, it was sort of in play. They had some sponsors, and I know they were looking around at a few other brands, trying to get them to take on the title of the team. And it seemed like a great fit. They're great people. They run a really tight ship on a small budget, and seem to provide great experience and knowledge. Darren's a great mechanic. Holly was really organized, had a great head on her shoulder as to how the team should behave and operate, and she came with both experience as well as Darren. And I felt comfortable investing in them, and that they were going to take the brand and the bike and the two riders that were proposed to the events, and they're going to be well taken care of, and hopefully shown the path to growth, and give them everything they need to be successful.
Yeah, and how are you feeling about the bike then, ahead of these guys getting on it? Like, were you happy with where it was at? You're obviously able to ride it, and maybe not at the speed or the level of intensity maybe you would have done 20 years ago, but you're obviously able to put quite a lot of force through this thing and give it a good test.
Yeah, I did one race on it last year and rode a few times up at Sun Peaks, and that's the only time I've ever been on a bike. I felt like I was on a motorbike. The limit was not the bike. The limit was the rider. I physically either couldn't hang on, or I physically or mentally, I guess, was incapable of digesting stuff coming at me at that rate of speed anymore. Just not used to it. Well outside of my comfort zone, and the bike would allow me to go there. So I had to be very careful. But yeah, just that experience alone, I think provided that kind of comfort level that I needed to say that we had something that we could bring to the table. And then just to have Mark and John test it out the first couple times and give us that feedback as well was really good. The bike itself has seen very few iterations as far as like links and plates and stuff that we've put on to adjust and change the kinematics and geometry that we can work with. So it speaks very well of a starting point, and we'll start to see the evolution of that bike as we progress here.
Yeah. How did you feel then the first time putting those guys on the bike? It's a big responsibility, I think. I mean, John is maybe a lesser known rider to some extent, but Mark's got a big history behind him. It's a lot to get those guys on your bike, and obviously you want them to go well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vlad and the team put together a great package, and we provided them with a good starting point, and kind of shared with them the abilities that we have within We Are One to change and iterate on whatever we were putting them on. And we worked really, really hard to very quickly make those changes. In the past, they've come from teams where change take months or even 6 months to a year to make, and it's big changes, and they have like these massive sweeps. So these iterative small steps are what they've always been looking for, and we've managed to iterate on linkages or on kinematic values, leverage ratios, small geometry changes, fiber changes so that the bike feels either less stiff or more stiff in certain areas and instances, and done that very, very quickly. I think it's both good for them and probably somewhat overwhelming, because you can watch them get a little bit hung up on some things and then, you know, want to make so many changes. So it's been fun to watch. I mean, they were alarmed that it took us like a couple days to make a linkage change and send it down to them at a team camp so they can test it out, you know. And that was on like a thought. They're like, well, what if we changed the lower link and brought it in like another millimeter? You know, what would that look like? And well, let's Vlad put it into CAD, put it back in the machine shop, machined it and had it to them, and they were testing it within 2 days. And I think all of them are like really impressed with the ability to make recommendations or suggest changes, and then it actually happens. That willingness from us to put our faith in them and give feedback and give them a great product to make that happen has been pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, this is where having so much of your supply chain in-house really like comes out strong, right? Because you can do so much. You've got so much capability to machine, to manufacture, to change things and get it to them. But I guess the flip side of that, like you say, is the puzzle, right? It can get out of hand pretty quickly when you can change almost whatever you want and go and test it. Like, has it been interesting watching them work? And like, are you sending engineers the whole time to work with them and help them through that, or is it the team structure around them?
Believe it or not, like it's the team structure, and we have like structural engineers on the carbon side, but most of it is as being kind of managed by Vlad. Vlad's, you know, he's our kinematic guy and our geometry guy. He's the one that designs these bikes and talks with the riders and with the stereo racing team to get the feedback and then make the adjustments that are needed or wanted. So he's been kind of championing most of that right now. And so far I've heard nothing but good things from both sides, that it's been one, their feedback from the riders and from the team is very positive, and they have very small, minute changes, I guess, that they want to make. And we're able to just make it happen for them. So both sides are kind of, I think, prospering from it. And I think the bike's getting better and better and better by the sounds of it.
Awesome. What were the main things that have changed from like Vlad's initial bike that went to the team to what the guys are racing on now? How much has moved about?
There's some there's lots of leverage ratio changes on the bike for them to tune where and how aggressive the curves are for different tracks. You know, so for a mud track, they'll want a little more grip, so they'll increase the ratio or decrease if it's a little faster. So they kind of want that adjustability there. Geometry's pretty good. I don't see too much movement there. We haven't seen any questions on the geometry. Stack and reach they're happy with. The big thing that I think we've all been surprised with is just how fast these guys go and how stiff they like their suspension and kind of the mindset. They like to stay on top of the bumps. They want the geometry to be preserved at all times if possible, and also just have the bike run as fast as possible. So it's like a supercross bike. I kind of attribute it to that. They want to just hit the thing, ricochet off of it, maintain all levels of speed, but not have it be so much of a holdup that it's sucking them back or taking time out of their run. So yeah, they're running, I would say, the whoops the whole way down to the track, it seems like, because these suspensions, I can't believe how stiff they run it. So it's basically RockShox and the team over there that's been really helping them get to that point.
Next level, man. Are they using data, or are they more basing this stuff on feeling or looking at timing? How are the guys deciding what to change and which direction to go in?
Yeah, we have both. So we have a BYB system that we've put on there to look at the analytics and see how the bike's running and operating and what they're doing on the course and what they're not. And then the telemetry is telling them what they need to know. I mean, telemetry is one thing and the data is one thing, but how do you parse through it and pick the best possible outcome? That's really what matters. And we feel like sometimes that can skew the rider's feedback, and it's been really hard to get them to trust that instead of going with what the telemetry suggests or the data from that suggests. You have to kind of meld the two, the demand from the rider and the feels from the rider versus the actual telemetry, and develop a system that will provide them with the best outcome. So there's a level of trust that will have to be built in. And as we grow, I think we'll have to lean on one or the other, I guess, to move forward in a meaningful manner, and try some stuff out and see what the outcomes are. I don't think one system is better than the other. I mean, rider feedback, in my opinion, is very, very high. Yeah, if the rider's not happy and the bike's not performing, then they have to be able to articulate what they want out of it and what they're feeling in a meaningful way, with words, not sounds, so that we can make an improvement. So if they have the wherewithal and the intelligence to kind of like put into words what they're wanting, we can make those adjustments, and we have the smarts and know how to do it.
Yeah. Have those like data sets from World Cup pace runs been useful for you from a development perspective when you go away and you're working on the engineering side of things? And like how does that data compare to someone like yourself or Vlad riding the bike? Have you been able to kind of dive into some of that stuff yet?
I mean, it's all new. So first time we've been to any of these tracks. We don't really have historics to go on. So I think we'll be digesting it as it comes, figuring out what we would have done different if we could have done anything different, and then breaking it down from there. I mean, I don't think me or Vlad are I mean, if we're looking to win races and win World Cups and build the world's fastest bike, I still don't think we're the like, we can build it. We have an idea, but we're going to rely on these guys to give us the actual real data, if it works or not. And the results will hopefully speak for that as well. So, so far this year, obviously that everyone is riding at a level that is beyond crazy. It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter every single round. And, it's building for an exciting environment, and it's providing the ability for everyone to have a shot at winning. I'd say more now than ever. But at the same time, a young team with not a huge budget, it provides challenges to make it through to those final rounds and to qualify and whatnot. So there's a lot of pressure, I guess, to do well with the product as well. And it's that's what I'm feeling more, I think, is like, okay, are we sure we're on the right path? Is there anything we can do? So we have a meeting after each round and go through it, and try to do our best to make it better for the minor little adjustments we can make from round to round.
Yeah, I'm guessing from an infrastructure perspective and overall kind of team budget, you're sort of fixed, but internally,
no semi truck here.
Yeah, exactly. But if it's internal, just like sticking some aluminium in a machine and making a new linkage and posting it, like that is stuff you can do, I guess, stuff you can control. So it's that balance of infrastructure versus the engineering side, the tech side, to help these guys get absolutely the best performing stuff they can.
Yeah, and that's really all we can do. I mean, I wish we had the budget where we could have, psychologists and soigneurs and massage therapists and everything under the sun to help our athletes get to where they're at. But I mean, this is just the reality of who we are. I mean, we're a very small company, trying to do big things, and we feel that we've provided a great product to help them get there, and we hope it grows from here. I mean, we have to start from somewhere, and to think that you're going to start at the levels of specialized gravity racing or Trek or anything like that is just foolish. And we know where we are, and we will continue to fight against the behemoths that are out there as we do every other day, and hopefully something comes of it. We catch some luck and away we go.
Yeah, you had a good looking pit setup. You were pitted opposite frameworks at Fort William, so saw the pits. But yeah, take people through what the riders do have on the ground then, because it's basic, but like I guess they've got everything fundamentally that they need, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a pit space, we've got mechanics, we've got Holly there to help them with their nutrition and get what they need to get up and down the hill and organize them and do the labor of organization for them. We can talk to Vlad, myself, and the engineers if there's anything that we need to discuss on any of the products and maybe we're having some problems with and adjustments, and we get to work more closely, I think. And that's the more beautiful thing about it, is it's less people in a smaller niche area to make quick change. So we pivot very fast. And I think that's been I guess a level of benefit that they've never seen before. So for what we don't have, but we kind of make up for in speed and adaptability.
Yeah. So Fort William was the first round for the team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did they feel they were ready? Like, had they had enough time? Were they able to get everything kind of where they wanted to be before leaving? I guess you're never fully done, are you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big ask just for the UCI organizing in that way, like sending everyone into the gnarliest, well, I would say one of the gnarliest courses of the year right off the bat, maybe is like it's a good way to wipe out a lot of people at the beginning of the season. And I don't know if that was I kind of like question that one, but yeah, I mean, it's really hard. Fort William round 1 will show you if you're even close to prepared or not. So for us, we were worried if the bike was going to have any issues we were unaware of, because we don't have a Fort William-esque track around here and no one's been riding stuff like that. So we were really excited that the bike performed well. It held up, everything maintained throughout the weekend. The team was really stoked. We only had 2 rim breaks the whole weekend. Darren was blown away. He's like, I've never been to Fort William and not had multiples. And even Mark was saying, like, previous years he would do 10 plus rims in a weekend at that round. And so all of the actual product we make will survive the beating. The bike was really nice. I mean, the small clips here and there that we got to see of the bike on track, it was very quiet. It would sound like it was running smooth. It was running fast. It wasn't clanging around and making sounds and whatnot. So we were really happy with that. Every time we saw it, it looked like it was working good. And, even guys like, I think it was Eddie Masters on his video. He's like, ooh, that bike looks quiet and it's nice. So it was like cool to see him even recognize that. So it's those kinds of things. I think those are the small wins that right now as a company we look for and where we get most excited about, is people recognizing the effort and what's going into it, and then the results from the product. So as far as the riders, like I say, I know those guys work their asses off. They train like no other, and they've prepared for this. And I just felt a little bit bad that they had to start it at Fort William, and at least I know their efforts and our efforts were good enough to get them through the round, and they walked away with some decent results. So yeah, couldn't be happier.
It was a brutal one, hey, and especially for Mark, I guess, on that 61st in quali, like right on the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough thing. I mean, they're making the races so hard that you, as a rider, you don't get to like ease into the season. I mean, you can't ease into Fort William. You're kind of like throwing right into the fire, and it's the gnarliest track aside from St. Anne that I've ever ridden in my life. And I hear Val di Sole is kind of like on the nether level, but yeah, it's a lot to ask for riders to come out of the gate swinging like that. And Mark, maybe he's just needs a little more time to build, and he's doing better. And we got to the next round in Poland, and he qualied really well and just missed out again on the bubble of the actual semi. So he's improving, which is great. I mean, that's all we can ask for. He's building. And then John as well, he's a junior, he's learning. He did a great result. I think it was 17th or 16th in Fort William, qualied well and everything. And he just missed the bubble again in Poland. So it was unfortunate in Poland for us not to make the big show, but this is racing, so we got to lick our wounds and figure out what we can do better for the next round and head to that. So
well, and those guys aren't on their own, right? There's so many people that I think have been shocked about just how close and how tight it is. Like, I think Mark was less than a second off this weekend, and that would have seen him through to the final. Like, the margins are tiny, hey?
Yeah, 6 seconds off of being able to quali is like, that's insane. And then you look at, like, I don't know, I watched Ronan's run this morning as his GoPro, and I swear, like, is this sped up? Like, there's no way that's actually how fast he's going. It's like, you just hear Ronan and how fast he's, like, how his breathing, you can see he's labored, like he is pushing it to the utter limit. Yeah. Not from like section to section or a little bit here, or he pedaled really hard there. It's like top to bottom, he is not letting up a millisecond, and that goes for all those guys. That's every single one in the category, and that is going to prove to be very challenging for brands and for sponsors and whatnot to accept. I mean, you invest and everybody wants a winning stable, but it's going to take some luck at this point now. I mean, the equipment is amazing. The suspension is amazing. RockShox and SRAM provide such a great opportunity for our guys to have the best of suspension. Tires from Maxxis, we've got unbelievable support everywhere we can think of. And we're putting together a great bike. And after that, I mean, we're going to have to catch a break. It's going to be luck.
Yeah, super tight for sure. What was the finish that you had on the bikes? Was it a wrap? Because obviously they look incredible in like the raw carbon, but you had something over that in certainly at Fort William anyway.
Yeah, our painter Kevin Stent, he's a fantastic self-taught painter, and our engineer were messing around. I came back from a trip last year in Italy, and I saw this cool paint job on a Colnago they did for Tadej Pogacar when he won the tour. It was it looked like gold, almost like a crystals. And I asked what it was, and it's called urea. So it's like a urea paint process where you base coat the bike and then you spray this urea substrate on, and it actually crystallizes. And then once that's crystallized, you actually paint over top of that, and what's underneath the crystals, you wipe those off, and what was underneath the crystals, the initial base coat, kind of comes through. So it's a really finicky paint job, and it looked super cool. And Kevin and Adam from the engineering department did a great job in providing a super cool looking bike for them for that round. It's been a really nice finish for sure.
It was incredible. Perhaps not a production finish, I'm guessing, with that level of work.
No, not unless you want to pay a significant amount for a custom paint job. Yeah, a lot went into those. Yeah,
they did look cool, man. So did the guys come out of Fort William, broadly speaking, kind of happy with where things were at? I mean, brand new bike, brand new setup, lots to learn, and all right, maybe not quite the results they wanted to walk away with, but equally it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was far from a disaster. I mean, a lot worse things could have happened. I think all in all, we had a team meeting about it on just in between the two, and everybody seemed like they're in good, positive spirits. I think it sparked a fire in Mark to kind of okay, this is I got to build a little quicker. And he knows what he has to do. He's not a beginner. He's a seasoned veteran, and so he took it upon himself, and he's moved up the ranks again in Poland. And I think the equipment, there was some small feedback on some stiffness changes that they want to make to the bike or try to make to the bike. And other than that, everything was super positive.
Cool. And is the feedback pretty aligned between Mark and John? Does Mark lead things? I'm guessing, John doesn't have as much experience, but...
Yeah, both provide a good level of information. We've never, I guess we haven't yet pooled one of them, to give information and change their bike versus the others. It's been kind of a unanimous change. I think as the season progresses and we start to do some more things, we'll maybe kind of start to separate the two and see how that goes. And once John's really happy, we'll leave him there and we'll let Mark tinker a bit. We'll see how that goes. But so far, it's been a very easy adjustment for us to make one change for one and or for them both. It's not been a problem. We don't really have a reason to hide something from one rider.
Yeah. And have they been riding in a mullet setup or full 29? Because I think you tested both, right?
Yeah, they have the option to run both, but they're both running the 2.7 rears. Yeah.
Okay. Does that seem to be the go-to these days? There's not that many full 29ers left. Even Greg Minnaar stepped away from that, right?
Yeah, I think the bike behaves interesting on it. I think it turns faster, it pivots. I don't have enough experience to really comment, to be honest, when I'm on a downhill bike setup. I mean, I haven't ridden a downhill bike aside from ours. The last downhill bike I rode was probably 2006. So to me, I have a heck of a time noticing a difference. I notice the bike tips from left to right through corners. It transitions quite a bit faster on the 2.7 in the rear. It's faster to change directions. So I guess when you're riding tight stuff, that really helps, and it gets the tire out of the way so you can be a little bit more aggressive on pulling the bike up into yourself to absorb instances. But I think everybody seems to be heading that direction. And it seems to be working, so I guess that's where we're headed.
Yeah, and then this project started off as a way of testing downhill components for VR1. What bits and pieces do you have on the team bikes? What are they working with?
So we're just working through obviously some new dedicated downhill rim project that have the convergence technology on them. All of the linkage and machine parts just for kinematic values is a big learn, like how a bike behaves. That's like bike specific, but components on the handlebar and stem, we have a unique kind of stiff and flexy handlebar and a stem that you can swap left to right to go from 100 mil width to I think it's 55, which provides a bunch of different feedback for the rider at the handlebar, which is the main contact point that a rider feels. And then tuning the laminates. I mean, really learning more about how far we can push the laminate to do what the riders are wanting out of it. So, a lot of them are starting to talk about running a little bit less stiff rear end. They're wanting stiffer laterally, like a turning, the head tube not to be or a little bit less stiff. So all of the laminate processes that really we want to learn to see what layer in what orientation would make a change that they would prefer and feel, and what's the tangible feeling, and what do we actually do and provide, and can we mesh that up with any FEA results or anything like that give us something we can actually dig into.
Do you think that like laminate work, that layup work, translates from the downhill bike to the arrival to the kind of trail enduro bike? Or do you think you can also take that learning and translate it through to other products like the rims, the bars that you work on? Like how far can you extrapolate and still be getting benefit from the learnings at the downhill level?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything was a trickle down from there. I mean, it's the most rigorous riding you could, or I guess instances you can put through on a product. So our rims, obviously, that's totally different layup, and we focus on the layups for reasons that are different on a downhill course than they are for a trail bike. But I mean, if we're looking to learn for like ultimate impact or something like that on a rim, we can make that happen. Radial lateral stiffness, obviously that can come into play. The bars themselves are and do you want it more compliant, less compliant? Do you want it stiffer in turning axis or not as stiff in turning axis? And then as far as the laminates in the frame, they're it really depends on what the riders are telling you they want out of the bike, and then we can adjust to there. So each one is a little bit independent because we lay them up all quite a bit differently than each other. I mean, the bar and the frame are very close as far as like a tubular structure, how you would make one, but the rims are completely separate altogether there, forming more like material science on that side of things.
Yeah, fair play. And the DH rims, we've been using a version of those, I think, on the downhill team bikes that you helped us out with. We've had zero issues so far, but also we're not quite riding as fast or as hard as those boys. You said a couple of rims in Fort William. How, like, is that something, I mean, I think probably you'd be very happy with that, but do you want to try and get to the point where there's zero rim failures at a venue like Fort William, or do you see that as an outlier and that's acceptable? Because you can end up over-engineering these things and either having a product that's, I guess, too expensive or doesn't ride very well just to stop them breaking. Where do you stop?
Yeah, I mean, it's the interest of the market trying to produce a rim that doesn't break is an interesting one for me, because you're taking, I would say, the near closest solid object or I guess structure and putting it through the absolute most stress and expecting so much out of it, and when it fails, you can't really say like, oh, for any definite reason this was the cause of the failure. You can look at outliers. Obviously you have some weird things happen and you can say, okay, that's why that failed. But to engineer say impact, you become you can make a really, really stiff, really, really strong rim for impact, but then the thing is like 700, 800 grams. It's like, well, is there any benefit to that And does that say, okay, well, if I'm riding this wagon wheel down the trail, it's never going to break on me? Is that a positive ride feel to the customer or the consumer or to these guys that are racing on the team? Generally not. So we always have to fight in between the two of what is the best ride feel, the best weight that makes sense, and gives the rider a very big cushion of air to make it down the hill without an incident. Sorry. So you're trying your best, but it's impossible to build it perfectly and never have it fail on the rim side. I don't think that's ever going to be the case, and it has to be accepted. I think that at some point, yeah, you got to let the cards lay. I mean, the rims are so much stronger than we've ever seen in mountain bike history before, and they continue to get better and better. And we're reaching a limit where we have to start looking at, okay, well, what alternative material sciences can we look at, or blends of materials can we add to really make it to that next big leap? So yeah, it's fun. It's a super big challenge, but it's also one of the most dynamic challenges that you could put in the engineering department.
Yeah. Will we see some of this stuff that you're developing, like brake cover, and become available at some point in the near future? Do you have like timelines in place yet for some of the bar and stem that you talked about, the downhill rims?
Yeah, I mean, the company's definitely positioning itself in a bit of a different direction at the moment. So we're really focusing heavy on rim development and anything rim at the moment, and really trying to bring a meaningful product to market in all categories of mountain biking and gravel as well. There's a few other little niche markets we're looking to enter in on the rim space. So all of our engineering and all of our efforts are going towards that right now. And we're leaning into that. As far as the bar and the stem and whatnot, we're putting that on a pause. There's a lot of bars and stems in the world today. Yeah, almost to the point where I don't know if the world needs another bar and stem. It's unfortunate to say those words, because we know the way our process, back-to-back testing is specifically on the bar and the stem, mainly the bar. I mean, the lamination is the big thing. The way that the general bars that are out there in the market, the carbon bars today, the way they're laminated, the inconsistencies from one bar to the next is quite robust. It's a lot larger gap than I think should be accepted in the market. There's a lot of claims on products that aren't what I think are being truthfully claimed. And I think a lot of marketing is being accepted, and the product's good enough. It's good. I mean, it's nothing let's say, yeah, it'll last. It's good. But is it the best? I don't think so. I think our product laminates extremely difficult. It has a lot of insane benefits. We've increased the yield strength over and over and over again on that product, and we've reached a point where we think that this is undoubtedly the safest and best bar in the market. But in doing so, it's kind of eradicated the ability to compete. It's much like you were saying previous about the rims. Are you going to get to a point where you've built this amazing thing, but your price is insane and no one's going to pay for it? Yeah. And I think we've reached that. So we got to readjust and look at things and really hone in on what's profitable for We Are One. What can we scale and do really, really well, and be the best at? What space can we own? And rims right now are that's our foundation. That's what we started the company on, and that's what we know we can do the best. So we're going to double down on and loop back and spend a lot more time and energy on improving those products and ensuring that our space is secured.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's kind of a shame, man, especially the stem that you were talking about, because I think that was very unique in the fact that you could change the sides, or flip the sides and change the clamp width to change the stiffness of the system. I'm guessing that the bar and stem have to be designed together to make that work. You couldn't just sell the stem and use it on any bar, right? Because it needs to be the bar needs to be ready to accept clamping at different
widths. Yeah, exactly. So the bar that we use for that is a whole new shape, a whole new design. on the downhill side. So that one's we're just have to snuff that one out. We've got a few like shape designs on it that are really interesting, that are engineered to provide the level of demand from the customers now as far as ride fuel and connection point. So, it takes out the vibration, reduces fatigue, and whatnot. And that shape is very interesting, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. But we just want to see it through a season, make sure it's running as we've stated, and the riders give us the feedback that we want to claim. And yeah, maybe we see that come to market down the road for sure. I mean, it's manufacturing is a is a real bugger sometimes. We went and showed a bar and stem, a brand new one for Sea Otter with a new graphic and a new stem design and everything like that. And we're really excited. And just before we left for Sea Otter, we had shipped a little over 350 units to an anodizer, and we had done all of our due diligence. We had sent samples, we had confirmed sample colors. Both companies had and agreed to variance or tolerance of colors. I think we've done everything we could to make that process a success, and we got 350 stems back that looked nothing at all like we had agreed to. And it was a big blow. It was just like, we're working so hard to bring this product to market. The anodizer accepted no responsibility, and we're left with having to make another 350 stems and find a new anodizer that would actually not do something after spending better part of 6 months working through that process just to get it to that point. And that was like the final straw for that project. So it won't see the light of day. I packed everything up and put it in a box, and we'll let everybody that has a bar and stem company just continue on until we're ready to actually come to market in a way that we can control. So if anything, it just explained like we need to have anodization in-house to be successful. You can't
bring it,
you can't trust people.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it's expensive too. I mean, those stems, I think we worked out in our cost that we lost a little over $20,000 or something like that by the time we do the stems and the bars and everything that we're not going to be able to recoup. So you just keep making those moves, and you're like, well, why are we even doing this? It's just, you start to bang your head against the wall and ask why a lot more than we should.
No, that's fair. I think a lot of people don't understand or are not aware of how much work, like the design, everyone assumes is the really clever bit, the hard bit, getting something in a one-off where you want it. But actually at that point, you've still got a lot of the job left to do, right? To take something from, okay, this works, we like it, we can make them in small quantities, to taking it to production is like, it's a huge amount of work, and untold amount of things like you've just highlighted can go wrong along the way. Yeah,
I mean, you look at, it goes so deeper than that. Like the vendors you choose being in Canada, there's certain regulations on what you can and can't do for environmental practices that makes anodizing very, very difficult. Achievable at black, no problems, we can do black. But the minute the market goes, well, I would buy one of your stems, but it's not purple. So you start then to like, okay, well then if we're going to do anything in the market, because the market's kicking and screaming that they want colors and they want a logo, you comply and you put a logo and you start to do colors, it literally kills a project. So it's like just the simple, like making something's cool, but the simple notion of taking a risk and adding or I guess meeting a demand from the market to be successful with the product can end up causing such a financial constraint that you just have to, it's just not worth it. You're going backwards. Yeah. And that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, but often, the hard calls are the best ones when you've made them. They're just not easy to make at the time, I guess. But it's. Go on, sorry.
I was just saying, it's if anything, it's just caused like I enjoyed it. Those are really good lessons if you learn them. If we can continue down that and we continue to I guess be foolish in that manner, it could be costly on the company overall. For us, it's made me look at what's our core competency, what are we extremely good at, and what can we absolutely, without question, scale and do well. And that's just my focus now. Like as the CEO and the founder, it's like we're just going to head in one direction until we have calm in the industry, until not everybody's marking bikes at 45% off or buy one get one free or whatever craziness is going on in the market. We don't need to play in that market space. We don't have to. We can choose to exit and be patient and come back at the right time, and that's just what we're going to do. I mean, we are leading, I think, at the quality, to price, to warranty, to support, to story, all of it, the branding on the rim side. I think that's where we're doing best, and we'll just lean into that for now.
Yeah, sounds like a sensible move. What are you seeing from like an industry perspective over there? Like the general feel that I've had in the last few months has been a cautious optimism, I would say. Like it feels like maybe the corner is being turned, but everyone's still being very careful, which is no bad thing. What's your feeling on that?
Oof. I mean, I want to be as positive as I can, but it's very challenging. I'm seeing brands and what we would call industry friends and allegiances that we knew in the past were long, strong, and supportive friends become extremely protectionist in all areas. We've seen some very big protectionist moves come down the pipe from some of the larger brands to ensure that their spaces are being dominated at the dealer level. And we've even been pushed out of some of our dealers because of it. Wow. We saw a lot less dealer support on our product because certain brands are saying, if you carry that, you just can't, we're just going to walk out the door and we'll give it to someone else. So we're seeing some very like political moves being done that are hampering our ability to transact. But on the flip side, everyone has a bed and they choose to lay in it, and that's fine. We've had fantastic support from our direct-to-consumer model. It's gone from, generally, it's about 30 to 35% of our business. It's exploded to 60% of our business.
Amazing.
So we've kind of taken a stance of like, hey, if you don't believe in the brand and you don't think there's room for us in your store, and historically we've done really well together, but if that is no longer the taste of the month or the opportunity for us to move forward, then we'll just put that relationship aside and we'll focus our efforts elsewhere. And in doing so, it's very tough because you kind of realize where you stand. You realize how ugly business can be, how ugly like the underbelly of this industry it can be, and it's I'd say it's cutthroat. People are very protectionist of their space. So we got to be careful of how we walk and how we behave and who we talk to and what we share, and create a new strategy. So it's great because it's another opportunity for me and for the organization to adjust and go to market in a different manner and rebuild. So I see it as a benefit and as a great new challenge and an opportunity to be better. And we'll always be there for our customers. I mean, at the end of the day, the people that support us, we appreciate dearly and we love, and we want nothing but the best for them as much as we want them to feel the same way for us. And those are really the people we want to invest our time and energy with, moving forward.
Yeah, that's great that at the end of the day, like it sounds like the customers and the consumers are there for you and they believe in the brand and can see the quality of what you're doing. How do you head more in that direction then to become more direct to consumer? Like what do you change as a brand sort of, I guess at a strategic level? What do you focus more on?
I mean, I wouldn't say we're moving more direct to consumer. We still want a very robust dealer network. We want to support the dealer level, and we love bike shops. That's definitely not our mandate isn't to like pull away from dealers or distributors. It's just that we're having more and more struggles getting getting the love we once had for political reasons. Kind of leave it at that. And we're seeing a lot of them being kind of like muscled to behave in a certain manner. We would like to work with those dealers that aren't going to be pushed around by other brands and believe that what we're doing is an amazing thing. Still manufacturing here in North America, employing 60 plus employees and doing everything we can to show people that there's a bright future in manufacturing in this space, and bring a really high quality product to them that they can actually earn a return on. We want those people. Absolutely, we want those people. For us, we're still a very unknown brand at most of the dealer level, but we kind of are starting to spend more time searching for those relationships. We've built a methodology on who's a good fit for us as a dealer, ensuring the people that we're investing in and giving the opportunity to sell our products are there for the right reasons and doing it for the right reasons, and they actually believe in what we're doing. And then at the D2C level, like you mentioned at the top, was just bringing in a world-class customer support service. I mean, really, if you're looking to buy our product and you're unaware of it, or you've stumbled across We Are One's website, do you understand what you're buying? Are we providing the value across the entire purchasing opportunity and experience? And are we delivering exactly what we said and then some? So we want the customers to feel the value and to know they're attaching themselves to a brand that cares about them as a consumer, and they feel that when they hit the submit order button. So at the end of the day, we just want to be there for the people that experience the ride on our product and know that when they put it on their bike, they're stoked and excited to be a part of the movement.
That's awesome, man. Definitely works for me. I've been in I'm probably not unusual position as one of your customers. I've never needed to use the customer support because I haven't managed to break any of it. So I'll keep trying, but I haven't managed yet.
Yeah, I mean, we always appreciate the support, Chris. We know that what you've done is amazing, and it's the same thing. I mean, you've taken a passion and you've grown it into something awesome that shares this awesome stories and everybody's perspective on the industry and the sport. And I think it's podcasts and investments like you've made that have made the sport even a better sport than it is today, or in the past. So it's been a big stoking support from us to be a part of it. I know we've been involved with the podcast for quite some time, and I definitely want to be here for the future as well, and stoked to see where you take it.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. And yeah, you were one of the first brands to come on board and help out. And that never gets forgotten, man. So what's next? Where do you see this downhill project going? You know, the language you use is that you want to provide the fastest bike out there. Like, where do you see the team getting to with this? Because obviously, from a business perspective, you have to focus, at least at this point in time, like doubling down on the rim side of the business, which makes total sense. But you've got this incredible marketing tool, and you obviously want the riders to do well. Where do you see that portion of things going over the next 2, 5, 10 years?
So the Momentum project, we're in it for another year. I think we'll continue to invest in that in a meaningful way so that we can learn as much as possible from the whole process. I would love to see it continue on further than that, and I hope in a year's time we're having a discussion around how and what that's going to look like into the future. It would be really good to get some, financial support from the outside sponsors that we currently have to help move it into the next level. I think there's a lot of fantastic opportunities for other companies to be involved and work alongside a brand that can rapidly prototype and do some pretty crazy R&D. We have a lot to learn. So I think what we would take away from it is the opportunity to make a fantastic bike that we know ultimately will last an entire season without fail. That's our goal. I mean, we've accomplished that with the arrival under Johnny Helly at the EWS level, where you go an entire season without a single change to that bike at all. We wouldn't even change bearings on him, and we'd let him ride. And the product is still there. He's still riding it. He's going into his second season on it, and we want to see how far we can really push this product so that at the end of the day, when people ask like, well, how good is your product? It's like, well, undeniably and without question, this will last longer than anything else in the market today. And we'll see those frames still be around in 10 plus years, where I don't know many other manufacturers that can make that claim. So for us, that's where we're aiming that focus for that team. There's a lot of other cool opportunities being a manufacturer that I want to see forth in the manufacturing space. I've had some kind of like crazy talks with the in-house about developing an opportunity for young people to learn how to make a bike, make their own bike from the ground up, not come and ride for us as a sponsored athlete, but come and make a bike, and then take that out into the world and take the experience you took out into the world, and let's see where that takes you, either as a rider or as a person. And it could tell a very, very good story, I think, at both the privateer racing level all the way down to just someone who really wants to make something and then become something amazing from the experience. So our vision statement is that we're the inspiration for other people to take on challenging things and explore exciting paths and opportunities. And it really leans into our vision. And I think that could be a really fun project that we could utilize in this space moving forward.
That would be amazing. Yeah, it's been cool to see, like, there's a few people doing things along those lines, like I can't get what I want, so I'm going to do it myself. And having that experience, the contra bike stuff, the framework stuff, like there's so many cool and inspirational stories that come out of those, that, to, like you say, to be able to offer that to people and say, we can help you do this. Like, we can give you the tools and the techniques and the know-how. It's a pretty powerful piece of work, I think, if you can make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think we like to hearken our industry, or at least at the top end of the World Cup, to like an F1-esque vibe. But the fact is that I don't think our team or Nico's team on the framework side could just cobble together an F1 car for the weekend and see how she goes. Like, so we're much different in that manner. But the cool thing about it, I mean, we aren't F1. We're mountain biking. We know that. We are so excited to see what other people like Nico and Contra and all the other folks, Gamux, all these guys are, I think, the core of the industry. They're the people that are pushing the prerogative. And what I hope happens is they get their spot in the sun, like as much as we do. And something good happens for the true makers and shakers in the industry that aren't accepting the status quo, and wanting to make something special. That's where the core lies in this industry. And I'm stoked every single time one of those companies comes out of the woodwork to do something like they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. More of that, the better, for sure, man. Well, it's a nice place to start to wrap up. If people haven't seen what We Are One are up to, like, where are the best places for them to be looking these days?
Yeah, the usuals. I mean, the social media, the Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. YouTube, we're going to be leaning into that quite a bit lately in the next little while. And then on our website at weareonecomposites.com. Yeah, we've switched everything away from weareone.bike because the old Google URL crawl wasn't quite working out well. So now it's all weareonecomposites.com. Yeah.
All right, good stuff, man. Yeah, I'll stick links to all of that in the show notes. There's a couple of team videos already over on the YouTube, so people can go and watch those and catch up with the pre-season stuff from the guys. And I'm guessing there's gonna be more coming through the season, right?
Yeah, definitely. We've got media on the ground there, telling the story from each round as the team progresses, and we'll be investing into that more and more. So see more and more from the We Are One Momentum project as the season progresses.
Nice one. Thanks, Dustin. Well, it's been a real pleasure catching up. Good to see that things are moving forwards for you guys, and awesome to see another fun and creative downhill project out there on the scene. So yeah, all the best for the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll catch you soon.
Right on, Chris. Thanks a lot. It was good to catch up as always, and look forward to the next chat.